Mr. Chairman, we are now recording the meeting and streaming live to YouTube. You can begin whenever you're ready.
Great. Good morning and welcome to this Metro Plan Orlando MAC meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. My name is John Dowless and I'll be chairing the meeting today. We also have a team of folks working to ensure this meeting runs smoothly for us in the room and those listening online. As we continue to meet in person, all committee members are required to be physically present here in the Metro Plan Orlando boardroom for purposes of achieving quorum. Staff will continue to stream our meetings online for public access. And we will start off first with a moment of silence, and then I will have Town Councilman Davitt to lead us in the pledge. We'll all stand. Amen.
Please, flag join me.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. So let's see. This morning, I asked that everyone silence your phones and smart devices. I do ask that all committee members wait to be recognized to speak and to activate your microphone before speaking and turning them back off when you are complete. As a reminder, the microphone is turned on and off by pressing the blue button, the one that looks like a little talking face icon on your screen in front of you. There are 2 public comment points in the meeting. Members of the public participating virtually who want to speak will use the raise hands feature on the Zoom screen. If attending by phone, you can hit *9 to request to be recognized. We also accepted comments by email and phone message before the meeting. The guidelines for public comment are posted at metroplan.org. Link virtual meetings. We want this and all future meetings to be accessible to all. Participants may join by computer, tablet, or phone. If you need accommodations to participate in the future, please contact Metro Plan Orlando. And with that, I think we will go to Ms. Larson for agenda review.
Thank you, Chair Dallas. Good morning, everyone, committee members, and everyone who is joining us in the room and virtually. First off, I'd like to thank all of you, all of our members and staff who have been working with us through the MAC roster update. I've heard back from almost everyone. And so we've made some significant strides in updating that roster. So thank you so much, and we really appreciate it. Next, well, it seems over the past few meetings, we've had the pleasure of welcoming new staff to the Metro Plan Orlando offices. However, this month we are welcoming back a familiar face, Ms. Laura Bauk, Senior Transportation Engineer and Project Manager, is returning to us after a brief experiment working for the City of Tampa. She's back where she belongs now, so welcome home. Speaking of changes at Metro Plan Orlando, you might have noticed that there was an email that was sent out on Monday that we have updated our website. We are now metroplanorlando.gov. We were .org before. There's a couple good reasons for this change. The .gov domain is safer because of extra security measures required for launch, and it is more recognizable to the public as an authentic government website. All of our email addresses, web pages, and documents will now cover the .gov domain name. However, during the transition, if you send an email to me using .org or any of the other staff, or type in .org, you will get redirected to .gov, and all of our email addresses, you'll still get in contact with us. So don't worry. But we'll be we'll be doing our best over the next few weeks to get everybody on board with this new domain. At the same time, we have refreshed our website content and graphics. So you'll notice an even greater presence for safety and technology information. We are also offering up a roundup of partner news to keep you up to date on transportation happenings across the region. We're promoting changes on social media with targeted emails. We also have a survey asking for opinions about our website change, and we would really appreciate if you give us feedback. So the survey link is also on our social media networks, and it's also can be found on our homepage. Now I'd like to turn it over to Mike Wilson for our safety moment.
Thank you, Sarah, and good morning, everyone. This month's safety moment is focusing on impaired driving. This is NHTSA's Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over campaign this time of year. So focusing on our safer people component of the safe systems approach. I thought it'd be interesting to look at the trend data, how we are doing as we have with some of the other issues pre versus post-COVID. Again, crashes overall have been down, fatal and serious crashes. Even for impaired driving, fatal and serious combined have dropped, but for the fatal only impaired driving, we've seen an increase. And this is consistent with what we've seen in some other areas where, for some reason, even though crashes overall are down, the fatalities are up, the most egregious, most serious crashes. So it'd be interesting to see how we compare to our peers around the state. So this is looking at the percent of fatal and serious crashes that involve impaired driving by metro area. And you can see we're in kind of the middle of the pack there with 7.4%. Down at the lowest end, Miami-Dade with a little over 5%. And then you see Jacksonville with the highest at over 17%. Want to also see how do things change for those areas. And once again, we're kind of in the middle. We dropped slightly again for fatal and serious impaired, but look at Miami-Dade dropping 20% during that same period, while the panhandle cities of Jacksonville and Pensacola up more than a quarter over that period. I don't have any explanations as to why. I do plan to dive into the data a little more deeply to see what else I can glean to see why there might be such discrepancies across the state. And finally, the message, the actionable part of our safety moment, that buzz driving is drunk driving, that even just a little bit of inebriation can have a serious impact.
How do you know when you've made the right decision? It's the feeling you get in your gut, the one that tells you what's right or wrong. It's the one that says, sure, I can have a drink, or the feeling that says, okay, I've been drinking, now what? It's the voice inside you that says, I'm buzzed, better leave the car when it's time to go. Plan ahead, catch a sober ride. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
If you'll recall from my first safety moment about speed, how small differences in speed can have a really big impact, at the actual impact speed. Well, the same goes for impairment. Imagine just a half second additional reaction time because you're just slightly impaired. Well, that half second additional reaction time is going to make a huge difference at impact speed. So that's why buzz driving is a serious issue as well. So thank you. Be happy to take any questions.
I was looking at the map in the areas that had the higher increase. I noticed some of the really more rural areas, Jacksonville being a really big space, not just inside the city. And when you get out into those areas, it's really harder to find like Ubers and mass transportation. So I think we kind of not force it, but have those people taking the decision to drive instead of getting a good safe way home.
That's a good point. That's something I can look at to see if like urban versus rural, we're trying to look at the characteristics of the roads that they're happening on. Thank you.
Any others? All right, thank you very much. Okay, I believe we now have the roll call.
Oh, not yet. I have a couple more comments.
Oh,
Sorry.
Sure.
I did want to let everyone know that there will not be a MAC meeting in October. So the next time we meet will be November 2nd, which is the middle of FDOT's Mobility Week. Mobility Week is an annual statewide advocacy week for events that promote awareness of safe multimodal transportation choices. So look forward to events during that time. And then as for our agenda today, there is a minor change. Mr. Sayasi Fine from Florida's Turnpike Enterprise was unable to join us this morning. However, he did provide a brief report, and I will read the report at that time. And now it's time for the roll.
Great. Ms. Smith?
Good morning. Anderson,
Here.
Blackwell, Davitt, Dowless,
Here.
Firstner,
Here.
Foraker,
Here.
Gardner, Guthrie,
Here.
Henson, McCann,
Here.
Ramos,
Present.
Sackett, Sladik, Smith. Mr. Chair, that concludes the roll call, and we do have a quorum physically present.
Thank you very much. I did get a text from Commissioner Smith, who said he had an unexpected conflict this morning. He asked for an excuse. Do we have a motion to note his excuse? Mayor Anderson, do we have a second? Second, Commissioner Sackett, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, please show that adopted. All right, now we're on item 5. We will now hear public comments on action items. We ask that you provide your name and address for the record, and please hold public comments to 2 minutes or less. If any members of the public wish to comment or are joining us virtually, please use the raise hand function and you will be recognized, or dial *9 on your phone keypad. We'll send you a prompt to unmute your mic. Do we have any joining us virtually who would like to make a comment?
Mr. Chairman, we have no hands raised on the virtual side.
Thank you very much. Are there any written comments?
We have not received any, and we have not received any requests to speak in person.
Okay, great. Then we will move to agency reports. So we have from FDOT, Mr. Scar.
Morning, Mr. Chair, committee members. I have a few items for you this morning. First, beginning in tab 4, you have your FDOT monthly construction report. I wanted to point out a couple of ongoing road closures that are still occurring. First being in Orange County, intersection of Orange Blossom Trail and Oak Ridge Road. This will continue through September 8th. There'll be nightly closures, and that'll be east and westbound inside turn lanes on Oak Ridge Road and north and south inside turn lanes on Orange Blossom Trail. And this is due to paving taking place in the evening. Next being in Osceola County, John Young Parkway, and from East Ham Brown Road to South Portage Street through September 15th, we'll have nightly intermittent closures west and eastbound lanes on John Young Parkway from west of Portage Street to Ham Brown Road for paving operations and work on the drainage system. Another item I wanted to bring to the committee was a couple of messages from the District 5 Public Information Office. First being an update to the new Beyond the Ultimate project. So as part of the I-4 Beyond the Ultimate program, FDOT has awarded a contract to Lane Construction for design and partial reconstruction of the I-4 and Apopka Vineland Road interchange to improve traffic flow and safety. The interchange serves more than 150,000 vehicles per day, and this serves the busy attractions area, as you all well know. The project includes realigning the westbound I-4 entrance ramp from southbound Apopka Vineland, building a new loop ramp from the road northbound to westbound I-4, lengthening the westbound I-4 exit ramp to Apopka Vineland Road, and road resurfacing. Along with other auxiliary works, this project will also include segments of a new westbound I-4 express lane, along with the projects that are already underway, which include the I-4 at Darrell Carter Parkway and I-4 at Sand Lake Road. Design for this project will start in the fall. Construction is scheduled to begin in 2024 once the design phase has been completed. And again, for both the construction projects and I-4 Beyond the Ultimate, CFL roads, they link together. So if you're looking for anything specifically to Beyond the Ultimate, it'll link directly to that specific site within CFL roads. And I'd like to close with information about hurricane deployment. As we know, we just had a close one, but FDOT District 5, which includes our 9 counties of Central Florida, has deployed 36 employees and construction vehicles to FDOT District 2, which is in Northeast Florida, to assist with cleanup and recovery efforts following Hurricane Idalia. The crew is made up of employees from all 6 Central Florida FDOT field offices, including Orlando, Oviedo, Leesburg, Ocala, DeLand, and Brevard. They're all currently staying at a base camp and working daily to cut fallen trees and remove debris from roadways and the right-of-way. The crews will stay as long as required. So just kind of demonstrating the District 5 is also assisting our fellow FDOT districts to the north. Pending questions, that's all I have at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Ms. Witten from Lynx.
Good morning. My update is brief. Our ridership remains about the same, around 55,000 average daily. Since our last meeting, we did implement our August service changes, which included the Swan Shuttle on our limo lanes, which is over near Creative Village. So that'll let us study autonomous vehicles in an urban environment and resolve any issues in the field. So we'll have more information to bring back when that project wraps up. We also unveiled the annual public service bus at Lynx, which will be showcasing 8 nonprofits throughout the year. And the theme this year was Heart and Hand Equals Hope. And we also just wrapped up our triennial review with the Federal Transit Administration. So unless there's any questions, that's my update.
Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now Ms. Larson for Florida Turnpike.
Okay, this is the Florida Turnpike's report. The SunTrax facility in Polk County celebrated its grand opening on June 12th, 2023. The winner of several construction design and tolling innovation industry awards, SunTrax was created to develop and test emerging technologies that will improve safety and advance the future of transportation. SunTrax is the first facility in the United States specifically designed for connected autonomous vehicle and standard automotive testing in a single site and one of the only high-speed tracks in the world to offer tolling simulation. And that's our report from Florida's Turnpike.
Should we ask you questions?
Thank you. I'll relay them to say, I'll see.
All right, we have 3 action items. First is the approval of July 6, 2023 meeting minutes. Are there any changes or corrections? Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mayor Foraker, we have a second from Mayor McCann. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, please show that adopted. Let's see. Now we go to the approval of FDOT amendment fiscal year 2024 to 2028 TIP, and I believe we have Mr. Sartorio. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and committee members. My name is Jason Sartorio. This morning I have 1 tip amendment for you. Additional information regarding this amendment is located in tab 2 of your agendas. This amendment is for the 10th Street Complete Street Project Phase 1. This is a new project which is funded through a federal discretionary grant awarded to the city of St. Cloud. And as I mentioned earlier, you all have some additional information on this amendment located in tab 2 of your agendas. With that being said, unless there are any questions, we are asking for your recommendation of approval of the amendment. Thank you.
All right, are there any questions? Hey, do we have a motion to approve? Mayor McCann, second. Mayor Sladek. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, show that adopted. I think you're still up to bat, Mr. Sartorio. Now we're on the recommend approval of FDOT amendment fiscal year 2024 to 28 TIP tab. Oh, that was tab 2. Sorry. We are now on tab 3.
So next I have our annual roll forward amendment. This includes projects which have funds that were originally programmed in fiscal year in last year's tip for fiscal year 23. These funds were not committed by the end of the fiscal year on June 30th. So they automatically roll forward to fiscal year 24 in FDOT's new adopted 5-year work program, which came out in July. We have to amend our tip to include these projects so that they can remain consistent with the work program. This does not affect the cost or schedule of these projects. And as many of you know, this is a routine procedure that we go through about this time every year. The information regarding this amendment is located in tab 3 of your agendas. With that being said, unless there are any questions, we ask for your recommendation of approval of the amendment.
Any questions? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve? Mayor Sladek, we have a second. Mayor Foraker. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, please show that adopted. Thank you very much. Okay, we go to presentations, and we have two informational presentations today. Please hold your questions until the end, if possible. So Mr. Wilson.
Thank you. Good morning again. We'll give you an update on progress with our Vision Zero action plan. Briefly, I'll be going over what we discussed at the first task force meeting. A little bit overview about what the Vision Zero's approach is. Talk about some of the key tasks that we are carrying out throughout this plan, and a little bit about the schedule. We held our first task force meeting last month. This is a variety of interests from throughout the region, local government, CAC, and other partners that are not traditional partners in our planning process, such as public health. We took a look at the high-level crash trends. How do we compare, for example, with the state as a whole and with the nation, and where are we heading with crashes? Talked about that Vision Zero approach and what's called the safe system approach, which is the underlying principles to make it work. Again, the key tasks, what to expect from the plan, what are the outcomes going to be from that plan, and then the schedule, and then we got some good feedback from the task force. So, Vision Zero, what is it? It's change in mindset for how we approach safety. That loss of life is no longer considered to be an acceptable price to pay for mobility. We are capable of reducing serious injuries and deaths on our system, and we really need to take a proactive and preventive approach to do so. And so in order to do that, we need to reframe the whole problem and see these issues, these crashes as being preventable. Understand that human failing is inevitable. We all make mistakes no matter what mode we are using, and we need to take that into account with our planning and design. We need to focus on the most serious crashes, the fatal and severe crashes, rather than trying to eliminate all crashes. It might be worth it to have a trade-off where we might get an increase in some minor crashes in order to reduce the most serious ones. And to look at this from an entire system standpoint, and rather than trying to rely on individual responsibility and expecting everyone to behave perfectly, we have to look at every point in the system and see where we can make improvements incrementally throughout. All of this has to be driven by data. We need to follow more than just what our gut feeling is. We need to see where are the crashes happening, what are the causes, and what are the key factors. And then another key issue that hasn't been addressed in safety in the past is social equity. What we've found looking at our data is that those with lesser means are at a higher risk for serious traffic crashes, both inside and outside of a vehicle. So the core elements for this Vision Zero plan, setting clear goals, and that comes from leadership on the top, from people like yourselves, of eliminating fatalities and severe injuries, and committing publicly to that goal. We need actionable strategies so that we're prioritizing roadway design and focusing on speed management, so that on the design issues and the operating issues that are leading to the greatest problems. We need to engage all of our departments that are relevant. So not only police and transportation planning, but looking at public health as well. And then again, looking at the data to make that decision making. Our key tasks in this process, right now we are finishing up the crash analysis. We just held our first kickoff meeting, as I said, with the task force. We are developing materials to share with all of the partners. Keep in mind that this is a regional plan, but that will also develop countywide plans for each of the 3 counties and then municipal plans as well. So all of you, at the end of this process, all of your jurisdictions will have a Vision Zero plan that you can adopt and implement. And so all of the materials that we're developing for the regional plan will be available for you for both from a data standpoint and a design standpoint to develop your own plans. Coming up this fall, we'll be developing our engineering countermeasures, again, based on that data, as well as non-engineering countermeasures. What kind of behavioral change do we want to influence to improve safety? And then also looking at our policies at every level, where do they need to be improved to get things moving in the right direction, you know, in all of our jurisdictions and departments. By winter and spring, we will have identified all of the priority projects and strategies to move forward with and be adopting our plans to get them eligible for future funding. There's at the next round of federal funding, we hope to be in well positioned for going after the infrastructure funds, so we can actually start building the projects that we've identified. So our next steps in the immediate term, our next task force is on September 19th. We are in the process of kicking off the other agency plans. A number of them have already gotten started. We are finishing up the scopes on the remainder of them. And so within this month, everyone will be on the move in their respective plans. We are launching a hub site, which will have all of the data that anyone can access, public as well as your local agencies, so we can operate from a consistent, coherent data set, and everyone can have a clear understanding of what the problems are. And we are moving forward with our detailed crash analysis, understanding what are the key factors and what are the key policy changes that we need to focus on. So that concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to take any questions.
I have a question you made, and we're learning a lot about this, but you said something about the social equity having a higher rate of accidents or more. Could you be more detailed and why?
Right. So we have done analysis of areas we call equity analysis zones, where both income and other demographic factors, indicate just an overall economic challenges for people, and that the crash rates in those areas are 30 to 40% higher. Basically, what it comes down to is that the people who live in those areas tend to be in areas that have higher speed, wider roads. They are more exposed to higher risk environments. Again, the higher speeds, particularly for those who are outside, who are walking or biking, they are more likely to be walking or cycling on, say, 6-lane arterials that are high speed than, let's say, along a 2-lane collector that's 30, 35 miles an hour.
Wondering if it was bicycle, pedestrian related.
Yeah. That is part of it, but it's for all modes. So even for non-motorists, even for those motorist only crashes where pedestrians and bicycles are not involved, the crash rates are still higher. But then again, we still see higher levels of crashes on those same types of roads that have more pedestrian and bicycle crashes as well.
You have any data for, we did away with vehicle inspections years ago. Do we have any data on for maintenance issues?
It's not something we have looked at, but that's something we could. It's not very well recorded in the crash data, but there are fields for it.
Worn out tires, worn out brakes,
Right, yeah. It's probably not that detailed, but we can get some sense of whether mechanical issues are involved.
Yes, sir, Mayor.
Mayor Dallas and I were talking earlier about the effectiveness of the raised pedestrian crosswalks that were installed on OBT. And I can't ever remember what they're called. It's got the two red flashing lights and the yellow light, the triangle thing.
Pedestrian hybrid beacon.
Pedestrian hybrid beacon. That's,
Mhm.
you're right. But I just wanted to say that the attention to safety has percolated through FDOT's project with us on 426. And it did require me to go test that system down on OBT. And it really, really worked. And I was frankly cynical until we did it. And so I would just encourage all of you, if you don't already have one in your vicinity, to go take a look at it. I let one or two people go in front of me just to check before I tried it. But I was really cynical, and then I pushed the button and the lights came on and people came to a stop. And, I was going to say, thank you very much for increasing the attention to safety and blending it into the work that y'all are doing. And I'm just here to say that it really worked.
Very good. Thank you very much.
The second time I took the orange vest off, but just kidding. But I've been able to share that information with a lot of our residents who are very active in trying to promote safety on 426 and Aloma, and have encouraged them to go out, and if they're cynical as well, to take a look at it. So I just wanted to add that comment and to thank you all for making that safety criteria a bigger part of the priority.
Well, it's interesting that you would bring that up, because we recently did a study on our own on the section of 436 between Oxford and Wilshire. And I have the study here. And it was suggested that we use a couple of those pedestrian crosswalks. And I had a lady come before the commission when this was presented and wanted to know the reason that, why are you doing this? What do do you have data to support this? Of course, we just had a fatality south of that with a bicycle. But it was interesting that somebody would come up and complain about a safety issue. But good. We are going to try to work with FDOT to try to implement a couple of those. Thank you.
Yeah, I will tell you that we've just installed those in Winter Springs actually, we've used them on a smaller level, more within communities on city-owned streets, particularly in the Tuscaloosa neighborhood, as a traffic calming device. It slows people down. It's not really a speed bump, but it gets their attention, and where we're seeing more and more cut through traffic as the area continues to grow. Some of these types of tools have controlled things and slowed them down as people are going through residential neighborhoods, and it's really been very effective. And do a red brick kind of look on it and things like that. You can really make them look nice, but they're very effective for safety. I do have another question though. I did attend via Zoom the meeting last month and listened in. And I guess what I was thinking or hoping is, will there be an opportunity? We have one particular intersection, probably the largest intersection in our community, where on one side there's a large shopping center and a high school. On the other side is a new senior living facility, quite large. And then a block away is a middle school and an elementary school. And this is a major state road, the big intersection. Would really Vision Zero be able to maybe help us formulate design plans of somehow creating a safer crosswalk and design, and maybe partnering with, because it's a state road, working together with the state? Is this something that falls within that realm?
Yes, so even if you don't have a crash problem, what we are doing is, again, from the proactive standpoint, is looking at the factors that come together, the land use, the roadway characteristics, the environment, and talk and think about, all right, maybe we're not having crashes, but all of these things add up to potential problems. So what can we do to remedy them? And so we identify the countermeasures for the particular crash problems that are likely to occur in a corridor or that are occurring. And so we can still apply those countermeasures to places that haven't seen the big crash problems yet.
I have one last question. I'm sorry, did anyone else?
Yeah, so I just
go
wanted to share something I've seen down at the beaches in Volusia. Not only do they have the flashing pedestrian crosswalks, they also have little tubes next to them that have flags. And so if people want to feel extra secure, they take the flag and kind of wave it. But I've seen, so down in those areas, they have two. They have just regular crosswalks, and then the flashing. And I've crossed both of them, and I'll tell you the difference is I've almost been hit many times just doing the regular crosswalk and never had a problem with flashing. So good.
What is it? Wasn't the grant, isn't it a $3 million grant?
More like 4.
And then will it increase later or something? Because I mean, 4 million across the whole region doesn't seem like a lot. And I've been wondering about that.
Well, again, that's for developing all the plans. All right. So the next phase is to go for the infrastructure grants, and these plans make us eligible for those infrastructure grants.
Got it. All right. Anything else? All right. Thank you so much. Sure. By the way, I want to note for the record, we have a community development director who is for the city of Lake Mary alternate. Sabrina, welcome in taking Commissioner Jordan's spot this morning. All right, section 3B, the active transportation plan update and workshop. We have Taylor. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you. My name is Taylor Laurent, and I'll be providing an update on the active transportation plan, which, as a reminder, is our plan to be able to enhance safety throughout the region for our most vulnerable roadway users, as well as identifying projects and infrastructure opportunities to be able to help people walk, bike, and roll throughout our region. So I'll go through the work that we've done since the last time we were together talking about this project, as well as go through the workshop results that we had with our community advisory committee and technical advisory committees 2 weeks ago, and then go through the next steps of the project through its planned completion by the end of this year. Beginning with our project updates. Last time we were all together focusing on the active transportation plan was back in October of 2022, so almost a full year ago, where we got some feedback from all of our partners to help us kind of set the project off on the right foot, making sure that we had the proper existing as well as planned projects that are already on the books. So we weren't recreating the wheel at any point. We used that as our springboard to be able to do several additional evaluations, including looking at safety, speeding, and vehicle operating speeds, comfort and accessibility, both of which I'll speak more about on the next several slides, as well as the demographics and the equity focus. One of the other items that we've finalized is our formal facility type definitions, which as an example is shown on the bottom right-hand side portion of this slide for our side paths and trails, where we were creating standardized definitions for each of these different facility types, as well as the illustrations. That way we are all certain of exactly what we're talking about and speaking the same language amongst ourselves and with the public. So all the results of these items, as well as the comfort and accessibility analyses, are included on our existing conditions report, which is available on our project website. So going into comfort analyses, we began with looking at the bicycle level of traffic stress. So this is really evaluating what is the person's level of comfort or stress that they are experiencing when they are traveling along any of our existing facilities. When we're looking at the level of traffic stress scores of 1 and 2, those represent lower stress facilities. 3 and 4 represent those higher stress facilities. For bicyclists, it really depends on the type of facility that is present. You'll see shared use paths and side paths are generally in our level 1 and 2 scores. But then when we start getting into other categories, Methodology includes more information about what the distance of that facility from an adjacent roadway, how quickly those cars are moving, what is that operating speed, as well as how many vehicles are traveling along that road itself. So all of those influence the level of traffic stress score. When we get into pedestrians, they have a slightly different viewpoint of the roadway. They're not going as quickly, so they have a different level of comfort analyses. It's largely the same when it comes to the bicyclist perspective as well. You still see scores of 1 and 2 for those low stress facilities, 3 and 4 for higher stress. The main difference here is that we have a level of comfort score of 5, and that represents an area where there is no existing facility, no sidewalk, no side path for our pedestrians to use. We wanted that to be separate and distinct from all of the other stress categories, because that could represent an impassable barrier, particularly if someone has a mobility impairment. I do want to point out and kind of build off of the discussion we were having about Vision Zero. When we're talking about comfort that people are experiencing while walking, biking, or rolling within our community, that does not necessarily correlate directly with the level of use. So there could be a lot of areas where Mike was saying it's very uncomfortable. It's a sidewalk right next to that 6-lane road. Cars are going 45 miles per hour. But if you're in a household that does not have a car, or you're dependent upon other modes, low income, someone else has the car, you're going to be forced to use that facility because it's the only one available for your travel options. I want to make sure that that's very clear. So in addition to comfort, our next evaluation was looking at travel accessibility. And I'm not referring to the Americans with Disabilities Act accessibility at this time. That'll come in a couple more slides. This is talking about people being able to access key destinations throughout our region. So with our steering committee, we looked at public schools, transit facilities, parks, jobs, as well as shopping, really focusing on grocery stores as key locations that people are trying to get to on a regular basis by whatever mode of travel. So we were able to do some analysis to figure out how quickly you can reach each of these locations, whether it's in a 5, 15-minute, or 30-minute travel shed, whether you're walking or biking. And we layered all of those different travel sheds on top of each other to develop accessibility scores. So it was one sidewalk giving you access to 10 different locations or just one? How accessible is that, and what benefit is that providing to people that are walking and biking and rolling? So we're able to combine that with the results of all the other analyses that we've performed to identify a series of infrastructure recommendations and new project recommendations throughout our 3-county area. The main categories are shown here on the slide for new trail segments, intersection crossing improvements, corridor improvements, as well as a few locations where we think a bicycle or pedestrian bridge or tunnel would be advantageous for safety purposes. In addition to those infrastructure items, we are looking at some policy recommendations and drafting those up now. Here you'll see the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act. That's really going to be a key focus for us, and some items that we're bringing to everyone's attention, because the public right-of-way accessibility guidelines, PROAG, are expected to be formalized this month. We're also developing some recommendations for vulnerable user or active transportation user count programs, so we can have consistent data across the region, no matter who is collecting the information, that we can use to benefit all of our transportation projects. And we're also developing some recommendations for micromobility programs, as well as bicycle facility selections. So focusing on that workshop, we took the recommendations that have been developed, some draft recommendations of those projects, as well as the policy recommendations, and printed those out on boards and had an open house style feedback session with all of our community advisory committee and technical advisory committee members. We had the results of the analyses that we talked about as handouts, so people could quickly look at the methodology and see where some of these different recommendations came from. And we also had an interactive map station set up where we could deep dive a specific project if we needed to, and leave comments on that interactive map to help keep track of the records of those conversations. So we received a lot of excellent feedback from all of the committee members that were able to participate. And we actually sent out a link to that interactive comment map to all of our CAC and TAC members. So they are able to provide feedback not only at that workshop, but as soon as they got back to their desk and went, "Oh, I forgot to tell you," they were able to put that into the interactive comment map. So that's open through the end of this week. And our partners were really able to help us evaluate the political feasibility of some of these draft recommendations, as well as getting a sense of public opinion about whether that would be an acceptable solution if it were to move forward. So speaking of moving forward, we're going to be using all of the information that we've received over the past 2 weeks to help us refine those project recommendations, so we can ultimately develop a complete active transportation plan by the end of this year. And we will be sharing those draft recommendations after we've done some fine tuning based on our partner feedback with the public this October. So there will be more information coming to kind of get ready for that public engagement effort. We'll be then making some final adjustments to that draft plan with our steering committee in December, and then we'll be back to showcase the final plan to you in your meeting in January or early February next year. So I will be available to answer any questions if you have them, but otherwise, thank you for your time this morning.
Hold on, you might have a few questions here. Anyone? Oh,
I'm
Maybe it's-
assuming Bike Walk Central Florida was a big part of this.
Yes, they're a member of our steering committee and have been involved since the beginning of the project.
Mayor Slater?
This is a little bit of a tangent, but does anybody in the room know how much it is to do a elevated crosswalk? I mean, now that everybody said that, now you're talking about this, what's the going rate for that? Because I'm guessing that will probably be part of all of this.
Excuse me, I can find out what we spent on ours on Winter Springs Boulevard because we put several in, so I can probably give you a breakdown. You can picture Winter Springs Boulevard. I'm sure you travel it, so you would know. That's not something that's on like, say, 434 or a Loma or something that's much larger state road, but it can give you an idea.
All right, any others? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we're on item 9, which is general information. If there's some other things that, oh, yes, sir.
Based on our long range plan, we developed long range estimates, cost estimates, about $20 million or $22 million all in. Obviously, right now, with construction costs.
For one?
20. Yeah, but that's true.
No.
An elevated crosswalk, not a pedestrian bridge.
I was like, holy moly, those are expensive.
Those are not $20 million.
Okay, wow, 20 mil, no wonder nobody wants to. do this. Overpasses.
Right, I didn't even see you back there. Good to have you. All right, any others? All right, to the general information, there's a few tabs if you want to take a look at, see if those are of any interest to anyone here. We have our next Metro Plan board meeting will be, we don't have September now, correct? No. Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's next week. The Metro Plan board meeting September 13th at 9 a.m. And the next MAC meeting will be November 2nd. So mark your calendars. All right. Do we have any comments from the membership?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring something up. And this was a great meeting today because we really talked a lot about bike safety, pedestrian safety, car safety, drinking, driving, really focused on those issues. Lately I've had a discussion about safety getting from Maitland, Edenville over to Winter Park over 1792. A few months ago at one of the meetings here, we were in the discussion of the bridge, the railroad bridge over 1792 being redone because right now it doesn't meet code or safety issues for what it's supposed to be. So if you've ever seen that area, on the west side is Maitland, Edenville. East side is Winter Park. And for years, Maitland residents have said to me, we need some way to get back and forth. It's just, there is no way that even Maitland on that east side of Maitland can get over to the west side with children or kids. Or, if Maitland residents or Edenville residents have some kind of transportation issues, they can't really go over to Winter Park, maybe enjoy the night or get a job or you know, and one of the ideas that I was thinking of is when this bridge is being redone, is to maybe also look at a pedestrian bike ped bridge in the same area. If you've ever been through Maitland, the railroad track at the south end, we have our bike trail that runs along the same way, and it will end up right where that bridge is. And it would be really nice that if you had that, that it would continue over and then it would come out around the Park Avenue-ish area. So now, and maybe Mr. Trogger just came up and was talking about that and knew 20 million because we had just talked about this yesterday. So the issues, I probably knew about that from there, but I've talked to Mayor Anderson. I've talked to Mayor Gardner of Edenville, Representative Anna Escamani, Representative, I believe it's Davis, and they all see it, and I've taken them all there, and they've all been like, this just makes sense. This is something we really need. So I know that they won't even start looking at this till next year, the summer of 24. But I just want to bring it up for discussion because it's really an opportunity to do the right thing and really look at a problem that has existed for years and years, and it's not going to get any better on those highways, and it's not going to get less dangerous, and it's going to get more dangerous. And I know my discussions with Mayor Anderson, they're also looking at a increasing their bike path, correct? So yeah, go ahead, Mayor Anderson.
Yeah, and I just so y'all know, we just adopted our own citywide transportation improvement plan, which included bike paths and pedestrian. I think we adopted it at the last meeting. This would end up, this is sort of the break point between Maitland's plan for their bike route. It has to cross there, and then it links up with our bike route, which will go down Denning, which then goes and ties into the Orlando bike trail that goes north and south, paralleling 1792. So it's kind of a break in the long-term link and for bike and pedestrian. So I think all three jurisdictions are looking at it, and at some point we'll need to. I think Vance has taken the lead.
Yeah, and I've in my discussions with Mr. Trogger, he has had discussions with FDOT. So I think what we've done is for this area. I'm just going to leave it at that, but I have a good feeling that this is quite doable in the future.
All right, thank you. Any other from the committee members? Okay, we'll now go to any members of the public who wish to comment. Please use the raise hand function and you will be recognized, or dial *9 on your phone keypad. We'll unmute your mic after you're recognized. Please state your name, address for the record, and limit your comment to 2 minutes. Do we have any joining us virtually who would like to make a comment?
Mr. Chairman, we have no hands raised on the virtual side.
And how about any public comments in person?
I have not received any requests.
Phone comments or written?
None.
Well, we gave them plenty of opportunity if they wanted to. All right, with that, I believe we've come to an adjournment. We have motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor, stand.
Yeah.